So 2 white supremacists have been charged with a hate crime. It's for beating up. It's a black man outside of a Florida discount store. Say the new count will be added to the other charge related to the altercation. They say the white supremacists were arrested in 2021. On Tuesday, June the 7th, a grand jury in Ocala indicted Roy Lashley, 55-year-old and Dunedin resident, and Robert Lashley, a 52-year-old Brandon resident, on federal hate crime charges after they assaulted a 24-year-old black man identified as DB in records, according to the U.S. Justice Department, reported in a news release. The news was shared by Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clark, the Justice Department Civil Rights Division, and U.S. Attorney Roger Handberg, of Middle District of Florida. The officials noted the FBI and the Citrus County Sheriff's Office investigated the incident and presented their findings to the courts. Trial attorneys Mara White and Matthew Tenenbaum, of the Justice Department Civil Rights Division, and Assistant U.S. Attorney Robert Bodner Jr. for the Middle District of Florida, are serving as prosecution as they're hoping to bring justice to the young man whose civil rights were violated. Now, on November 17, 2021, it was reported that Lashleys were arrested on charges of assaulting DB in a Family Dollar store parking lot near the intersection of North Citrus Springs Boulevard and North Deltona Boulevard in Citrus Springs. They were later charged with assault and battery under state law for the same incident. Now, they say the arrest records detail the incident from DB's perspective. Stating he was walking away from the store, crossing Deltona Boulevard, and heard voices yelling derogatory and racist epithets at him. Officials assigned to the case say Robert Lashley ran over to the brother and started punching him in the face. As DB lay on the ground, Roy Lashley hit him repeatedly with a closed fist and an axe handle. Now, according to local news, because the white supremacists used racial slurs during the ambush, the jury hit them with additional hate crime charges. Counts that could carry a maximum of 10 years in prison, 3 years of mandatory supervised release, and a fine of $250,000. Now, the indictment, they stated, the men aided and abetted one another, willfully causing bodily injury to the victim, a black man, because of his actual perceived race. It sets the stage for both men to stand trial on hate crime charges. Now, an additional charge was handed down, when Roy Lashley, when officers arrived on the scene of the altercation, the white supremacists became aggressive with the arresting deputies. The confrontation with officers, as the records reveal, was the grounds for him to receive a resisting law enforcement charges. He kicked the sheriff's officer deputy in the legs while the officer was trying to handcuff him. Since the incident, the assistant state attorney Blake Shore said state prosecutors will need to meet with federal prosecutors to assess if the state needs to continue prosecuting the Lashleys. Federal court records do not indicate if either man had lawyers representing them. But yeah, they got federal charges, and listen, you don't want no federal charge, but you know what? They need it. And 9 times out of 10, the state probably gonna drop out the case and say, okay, if the feds got it, we ain't got to deal with it, because the feds have unlimited resources, and that's good for them. They need to go to prison to serve every single day of that prison term. That is actually the right thing for them. These white supremacists, like you said, they wish it was back in the 30s and 40s where they can get away with that and nothing would happen to them. But today is different. You got cameras, you got, different rights and laws that black people fought for. And we should never let these white supremacists put a hand on us. But y'all let me know in the comments what y'all think about this particular story. I think this is good. Like I said, and I hope they get every year they deserve.